Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Lee Van Am here, and I beat Gilgamesh's offensive, so I feel qualified to talk about it now. So let's get to it. Gilgamesh's offensive is a really epic battle, and it comes down to three things. It comes down to managing your party's resources, it comes down to managing his hit point thresholds, and it also comes down to managing his elemental abilities. So you take care of those three things, and the fight's gonna seem pretty easy. It may be long, but it'll be easy and it'll be well controlled, and that's the way that I completed it. And I'll give you some insight on my specific strategy at the end of the video. But let's go ahead and go through the steps so we can talk about Gilgamesh and what you need to look out for and what's going to get you through. So, first thing to note, all of Gilgamesh's special attacks, they deal hybrid damage. The reason this is good for us is because this means that we can also raise our spirit and lower his magic stat, and that will really help us mitigate the damage that's dealt every round. This is important because Gilgamesh has up to 8 actions per round, and a lot of them can be AoE attacks, so you really want to have your buffs up as often as possible or have him debuffed as often as possible. Next point I want to talk about is going to be his thresholds, because they're very important and you got to be on the lookout for them. So at 80%, 50%, and 30% remaining health, Gilgamesh is only going to use 2 attacks. Bushido Freedom, which is an AoE hybrid damage attack, along with a single target death, and Gilgamesh Transform, which is a really big defense and spirit buff for him. So Gilgamesh Transform, you can deal with it the next round, of course, but Bushido Freedom, it's going to be really important that you mitigate and control the person who is the target of the single target death, because you don't want the wrong person to die, be it a healer or someone who's sealing elements, because that means that's going to be a round where you're going to take a lot of extra damage and could have effects happen to you from elemental attacks that are not covered. So Provoke is going to be one of the best ways to control who the target of Bushido Freedom is. That's not available, but you can also use Noctis Fish or other 100% guarantees to have the attention of Gilgamesh during that turn, because it's the only single target attack whenever he hits the threshold. So, if it's possible, be sure to buff your spirit and break his magic stat before breaking the threshold, and that will greatly reduce the AoE damage that you take from Bushido Freedom. So, this picture is from Brave Exvius Wiki, which is an amazing resource, but be sure to pay attention to it because it gives you a really good way to ballpark when you're about to break a threshold. As you can see, 80% is in between the unit boxes, 50% is right at the beginning of the unit's hit point bar on the left side, and then 30% is the dividing line between the hit points on the left unit side. So learn it, be really familiar with it, so that way you can prepare a round before for the as far as for the transformation and Bushido Freedom, breaking that threshold. It's really important. Okay, the next part of the fight, which will make things really easy as long as you're able to stick to it, are going to be Gilgamesh's elemental attacks. So after you break the 80% threshold, you're going to have to start worrying about his elemental attacks, and he can do up to 5 of them at this point: fire, water, earth, wind, and holy. You can look up the details on Brave Exvius Wiki to see what they do, but you don't want to have any part of any of them, if at all possible. So if you attack Gilgamesh with a corresponding element, it will seal that attack for 1 turn. So for example, if you attack him with a fire hybrid damage attack or a fire weapon, he won't use the fire elemental ability that turn. So your goal is to attack him with every element every turn, so that way you only have to deal with the regular attacks that you were working with before you broke the 80% threshold. So now you can see how the fight goes. You keep him only using those regular attacks, you're able to mitigate those a lot better, and you just deal with the threshold, and that will be really the entire fight, as long as you can keep that going. So again, if you seal all the elements, it'll only leave him using basic attacks, X-Slash, or Tsubame Gaishi instead. And of course, with hybrid damage, keep your buffs up, and you definitely should be able to survive. Now, things get a little trickier after 50%, because after that threshold, he'll start using a lightning elemental attack, and it is nasty. It debuffs defense, it debuffs spirit, and it also has a chance to paralyze. So if you get hit with it, it's probably lights out. So again, don't get hit with it at all. Don't let it happen. Don't even see what it looks like. Figure out what it looks like after you win. Go on YouTube and see what it looks like. See somebody else get hit with it. Just don't get hit with it yourself. Don't do it. Now, this attack is special though, because you can only seal this attack with lightning hybrid damage or lightning magic. So for lightning hybrid damage to seal it, you have to use either a lightning hybrid damage skill like Thunderblade, or you can use any other ability that deals hybrid damage and have a lightning weapon on. So you can't just do a regular attack, or you can't do an ability that just deals physical damage and have a thunder weapon on, a lightning weapon on, because it will not work. So be sure to pay attention to what attacks you're using and make sure it deals hybrid damage, which means it has to have both physical and magic components. It's really, really important. I don't want it to accidentally wreck your day because you thought you were prepared, and then all of a sudden people are paralyzed and you're gonna die. The last one I want to talk about are going to be his buffs, and so all of these are going to be things you'll want to dispel immediately, and I'm just going to talk about when they happen. So turn 1, he's going to use Wall, and he's going to use Barrier to buff his defense and his spirit. So the next round, you just want to dispel them as quickly as possible. That's it. Gilgamesh Transform is going to be a buff to defense and spirit as well. Again, when you're recovering the next round, you're reviving the person that was KO'd from single target death, and you're healing up. You definitely want to dispel that buff because it's going to make the fight much longer if it stays on him. And last but not least, the third time he gets hit with a water attack, he's going to use Break, which is actually a really huge defense and spirit buff, 300% boost. So you want to get rid of that as quickly as you can, because if you don't, it's going to be a super long fight, and the longer this fight goes, the harder it's going to be for you to manage your MP, and the more likely bad things are going to happen to you later. So let's talk about my fight. Let's talk about what happened. My fight's going on in the background, and the full fight, I'm going to leave a description of it. I'm going to leave a link to it in the description below, so you'll be able to see it. My fight was well controlled. It was long, and my fight mainly came down to MP management and a battle of attrition. So, got Rifia. Rifia is my healer, and that was her only job, was healing. She could dispel if she wanted to, but her only job was to heal, and when she was running low on MP and we had full life, she would use Osmos and get MP back. That was it. That was the extent of her job. She did nothing else. Zhao was my tank. Zhao didn't have any elements to seal. All she did was deal damage and take damage and get counter hits. And she also was the target of the single target death. The reason she was the target for the single target death is because she did not have any responsibilities that would cause the Gilgamesh fight to change. So reviving her was great because you revive her to full health. She's got a lot of life to survive without buffs. You can get her going the next round. It was great. Then Philia is going to be my first elemental sealer. Her only job was to seal with Earth because that's the only element I didn't have taken care of with my other two elemental sealers. And her secondary job was to use her limit burst to buff my party. So her job was really simple, and she was able to do her role without changing anything. She just attacked when her limit burst was full, unless Gilgamesh Transform was coming the next round, so that way the buffs, you'd lose all your buffs due to Bushido Freedom. She would buff the party, boost defense, boost spirit. That way we take less damage for a little while. That was her only job. It's great. Okay. Noctis, his only job was to deal damage debuff magic with Lightning Flask, so you can use anybody to debuff magic. I almost finished this fight with a few other people, and helped me manage MP with cover. That was his only job. He didn't have anything to do with elements. If he died, it was fine because it would be easy to revive him, but that was his only job. So the 3 people I needed to keep alive, well, besides the healer, are Nymphelia, because she was sealing Earth, and then Cecil and Bartz were my elemental sealers. So as you can see, Cecil, he has the trident, so he was sealing water with attacks, and he was also doing Fire Blade, so he was sealing water and fire. Now Bartz is dual wielding a coral sword, so he could seal lightning, and he has Durandal, so he could seal the light ability as well. And I was using Arrow Blade because it is a very, very low MP cost wind hybrid damage attack. I made sure to get a hybrid damage attack because I needed to make sure that lightning would be sealed to 50%. Very, very important. So make sure you look at your abilities so they are able to seal lightning, so you don't have a bad day. But that was the whole fight. And so once it started, you get them down to 80%, you keep your buffs up, and you just start sealing. So, you know, those 2 boys were on repeat the whole fight. And there was really only one point in time that things got a little hairy, and I have to take a really big gamble at the end to help with MP management. And so if you watched closer to the end of the fight, I'll show it to you, and I may even put a link to it on the full fight so you can see it. But outside of that, everything was smooth sailing once the machine was running. And that's how I want the fight to be for you. I want it to be smooth sailing. I want it to be no problem. I don't have a lot of TMRs. I don't have a lot of Trustmaster's Finish. I don't have a lot of like super duper mega units yet. So, you know, I had to be a little bit smarter with this fight and manage what I have. So it worked out. Everything's doing well. It was great. Let me know how you do in the comment section below. Let me know some techniques that you may use that I did not use. Something that's very popular is that Rain, if you have him with dual wield, he can seal 4 elements with Lava Floor. So a lot of people are equipping him with like the Air Knife and Durandal, which would have sealed light, wind, fire, and earth. Now, Lava Floor only deals physical damage, so it does not deal hybrid damage. So equipping him with a coral sword would not seal lightning. So be careful and make sure you read these abilities before you put everything together. Very important. But that is it, guys. That's the whole walkthrough. That's my commentary. That's my guide. If you like it, throw me a like, share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, because we got a lot of Brave Exvius going on, a lot of fighting games going on, and we have a really, really good time. So, until next time, gotta go check on my wife because she's asleep. Appreciate you guys. This is Lee Van Dam. You all take care. God bless.